Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is April 8th, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery. You can see our low pressure center right off the coastline. Winds are picking up along the coastal areas right now. Some of those winds will be spreading inland. We've got another round of rainfall already ongoing, and you can kind of see the powerful jet stream stretched all the way back across the Pacific Ocean here. However, we are going to dry out a bit here as we go through Wednesday and Thursday before potentially bringing another storm system in here Thursday night. We'll take a look at that in some detail. We'll take a look at the extended forecast as always as we go through the video here this morning. There's our low pressure center there. It's not a big beastly November storm, but it's still going to have a little bit of a punch here for some areas, maybe 50 plus for some of the coastal regions. And you can see it's already spreading rain across a lot of the areas, some moderate and heavy rainfall embedded in there. And if you want your own affordable home weather station, it's much more fun to watch the weather when you've got one of these attached to your place of residence. And yeah, go ahead and click on the link down below if you want to save 10% off on that. It's got a great smartphone app, sends you notifications, stores all the data for you in the cloud. Highly recommended. Now, taking a look here at the lightning activity yesterday, look at eastern Washington, Oregon. Pretty good amounts of lightning ongoing there. Some of western Washington got a bit of a show there. And places around the Portland metro towards the Columbia River Gorge there, and a couple strikes right off the Washington coastline. And you can see for today, they talk about PM showers and thunderstorms here, maybe a few, but probably not as widespread as what was going on yesterday. This is updated here this morning by the National Weather Service Spokane, always with great graphics. You see Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday here. We'll see what comes in the extended forecast. I'll show you more on that here in a moment. But also spring weather spotter training. Check it out. You can attend one of these virtual classes. You will learn a lot. They are very good. And I'm going to leave a link in my Patreon page down below, so you can go ahead and click on that, and you can see you just click on that right there and it'll bring you to, and you select which class you would like to attend. Highly recommend doing that. And avalanche danger there is apparent across the Cascades of Washington, some of the Cascades of Oregon as well. There's Mount Hood, so check before you go. Snow levels generally above 3,000 feet for the most part, but more snow for Stevens Pass versus Snoqualmie coming up, and I'll show you some of those totals here in a moment. But now, talking about that jet stream that we were looking at, this is about 30,000 feet or about 300 millibars up in the atmosphere. And this is what this storm system is riding in on here. And then you see as we go through Wednesday, we start to get a bit of a bump here in this ridge before the next frontal system will be arriving at some point on Thursday afternoon, most likely. But we do get a fairly decent day, maybe Wednesday, and for some areas, much of Thursday as well. And this system wants to push through as we go through Thursday. Not a bad frontal system there. And then maybe we start to build some ridging again as we go through the weekend coming up, or on in through the early portion of next week. But, it's still April. Troughing's not going to be far off, but we'll continue to monitor that, and I'll show you the extended forecast here as we go further on into the video. Now, if we look at this system here, this is the artificial intelligence, and you can see the system we're dealing with today. It's got that decent pressure gradient on the south side of it here, and that'll kick off the winds here. Probably already picking up right now. If you're watching along the Oregon coast, you probably notice it's starting to get breezy out there, and then this moves across some of British Columbia there, and it's got a decent pressure gradient. It's not a big bad windstorm or anything like that, but you'll notice that it does get breezy today. And this is looking at the North American model. There's our low pressure center, and you can see the rain will be continuing as we go on in through the day today. But then you notice as we go on in through Wednesday morning, a lot of the area is drying out here as we go through the day Wednesday with that ridge building. But then you see the next frontal system out here. We start to scroll into Thursday, and you can see as we're going through the day Thursday, like Seattle, Portland, some of southwest BC, starts off the day dry, and then the precipitation comes rolling in there as we go through the afternoon and the evening hours, bringing another frontal system here across the area. Now, looking at wind speeds, this is where we are. Let's see. So it's about 845 or so. So you subtract 715. You're looking at about 15 Z or so. So 15, 16. You can see the winds picking up on the Oregon coast the last hour or two, and then this wind will start to pick up across some of the Willamette Valley, Puget Sound, Northwest Interior as we go through the late morning, early afternoon hours. It's going to be blustery out there today. Some of the east slopes of the Cascades of Oregon will get some decent westerly gusts here as we go through the afternoon and evening as well as that frontal system kicks on through. Then you can see the winds kind of lighten up there and even turn a little bit offshore there as we introduce this next frontal system into our coastal waters as we go through Thursday morning, and that'll push through on the day Thursday again. Rinse and repeat. So looking at the North American model, you can see there are some gusts up over 50 here for some of the Oregon coast. Maybe a story getting up first 50, Cape D, Cape Disappointment, Washington coast up over 50 miles per hour. And then you can see maybe Olympia, Tacoma, some of the Portland metro Central Willamette Valley up towards 40, maybe some of the Puget Sound, Northwest Interior, maybe into the lower 40s also. So blustery, not a damaging windstorm or anything like that, and some gusty winds on the east slopes of the Cascades. Those are going to be of the westerly variety. Looking at the European, it calls for 39 for Seattle, a little bit less across Portland Metro, but there's still some decent gusts up into the lower 40s. And it does show the potential for a 50-mile-per-hour gust here across the Northwest Interior. Whidbey Island, San Juan's as well, maybe Port Townsend out there, the Hood Canal Bridge out there getting a bit gusty, Bellingham 42, Southwest BC along the water there into the 40s, and of course along the coastline as we go through the day today into the lower 50s, not out of the question. So heads up for that. And also wave activity probably peaking here this morning for this storm system. As you can see, this would be about 11 a.m. this morning. We scroll through the afternoon hours. Waves remain elevated. A little bit of a break there Wednesday. Then Thursday's frontal system brings another batch of waves there. Nothing too exceptional there, but just keep that in the back of your mind if you're out and out across some of the ocean beaches here as you go through the day today. Now, looking at the European artificial intelligence on the left versus the GFS on the right, let's take a look at the longer term forecast here. But first things first, there's that frontal system, the ridge that brings a decent day Wednesday and portions of Thursday. There's that frontal system for Thursday. Pretty good model agreement. We're only 60 hours out. You expect that pretty good agreement between the models. And then we start to get a little bit of divergence here. The GFS brings a stronger trough as we go through the upcoming weekend. The European is, this is much more of a gentle brush from this trough versus what the GFS is showing right there. So we start to get some pretty good disagreement there. Then there's a transient ridge, looks like showing up on the GFS, and definitely some differences showing up here. As you can see, this deeper trough on the GFS all the way down towards California versus some ridging here, bringing us some nicer weather. But then through the extended forecast, the models do continue to show some troughing here as we go out towards about 250 hours or so. So, it's April. There's going to be some probably differences as we go through the extended forecast and what exactly is going to happen. So I wouldn't get your heart set on any one solution at this time frame here. As you can see, we got some pretty good discrepancy. Even only 96 hours out, that's a pretty big difference between the GFS and what the artificial intelligence model is showing there. So we'll revisit that again tomorrow. Now, looking at total snow, again, I mentioned that Snoqualmie Pass is at 3,000, Stevens is at 4, and you can see Snoqualmie only getting, an inch, maybe 2, a little bit of accumulation maybe on the roadways, but a little bit of a different story up at Stevens Pass here. You might get some of that accumulation covering the road, whatnot. So definitely I-90, the better way to go if you're going back and forth across the mountain passes. But again, a lot of the snowfall, the big amounts is across the higher terrain here as we go up on through Wednesday. Then we bring that next system in here Thursday, and again, mainly just the very higher elevations there across some of the region. And as we go through the weekend, then that trough's going to swing through, and maybe it'll bring another inch or so down towards Snoqualmie Pass, but we'll watch that again later. Now, composite reflectivity, you can see the spin in the atmosphere here this morning. So what the Doppler radar may look like over the next 60 hours. Hot off the presses, North American high-resolution model. And you see the frontal system kind of kicking through. And you see a couple of these showers might produce some lightning strikes across northeast Oregon, some of eastern Washington as we go through the afternoon and evening hours. And there's a little bit of a convergence zone. Looks like it sets up here to the north of Seattle, off to the east of Everett. Maybe a lightning strike in that, who knows. But for the most part, we'll be drying out as we go on in through the day. Wednesday, you see not much precipitation. We go on into Thursday, and you see the next frontal system bearing down as we go out. That's about 8 a.m., 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2 for Seattle and Portland. The rain starts probably early afternoon, southwest BC a little bit earlier, and that frontal system will be swinging through on the day Thursday. So total precipitation in inches, you see we got a rainy day in store today. If I click through today, you can see Seattle 0.6 of an inch, maybe half an inch there for Portland. Higher amounts across the higher terrain, the coastal ranges, of course, but then we bring the frontal system in on Thursday. Another batch of rainfall with that, and then do we dry out, or are we going to bring another trough in here this weekend? That is the million-dollar question. Now, looking at daily 2-meter max temperatures here, I'm going to update this because for some reason the National Blended Models is not letting me show the Tuesday forecast. Let's back up even further. Well, for whatever reason, there we go. There's Tuesday. And there's tomorrow, Wednesday. We do warm up a little bit here, like I mentioned. And Thursday, we might, get a bit of warmth there. And then before this frontal system gets in. And look at some of these 70s out here across eastern Oregon, eastern Washington, maybe some 70s down into the valley areas here into western Oregon. So yeah, we'll watch out for that. And then we go to Friday, we cool things back down behind that front. There's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then again, Wednesday is kind of up in the air right now and just how nice that week is going to be. What kind of systems will be moving through. But if we look at the artificial intelligence over the next 15 days, you can kind of see, again, a fairly decent cutoff there right across western BC. Some drier conditions to the south, wetter conditions to the north. We'll just kind of revisit that. And of course, we'll be breaking it down day by day. Just kind of a fun thing to do is to look off into the future. But 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, there we go, below normal. There we go with kind of this mixed bag here across a lot of the Pacific Northwest, just clipping Northwest Washington as we go through the 17th. There's the 8 to 14 day, and then again, kind of this mixed bag signal here with systems further north up into British Columbia. How much of that will be impacting portions of Washington and Oregon? Good question. We'll continue to monitor that. Snowpack not doing great across Washington state, much better across portions of Oregon, but Idaho Panhandle, western Montana aren't doing too hot also. Portions of southern Idaho are, at or above average, however, for this time of year. And I did show this yesterday. You can Google this if you want more. National Interagency Fire Center and significant wildland fire potential outlook for July 2025. Not a good look here for the Pacific Northwest. Hopefully that does not actually occur. But right now they are calling it above normal wildland fire potential. But anyway, yeah, I hope you guys are liking the channel. Click like and subscribe. Check out the Patreon page there. Highly recommend you attend those spotter classes there done by Spokane National Weather Service. That'll be in the Patreon page, and you can click on that down below. So anyway, yeah, what else? That's all I got for you. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.